Okay. Hi, thank you so much for just taking your time out of your day to watch or listen to this video right here. Yeah, it it really means a lot. And so the reason you're getting this video is because we were unable to sit down and have a meeting, and that's because of I'm busy, you're busy, but also because of distance. So, it's moments like this where I'm really thankful for technology because now I can give you a link and you can click on it and watch this video. So basically what I'm doing is I have this thing and it's called a conversation guide, and I will share my screen with you. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you kind of, not kind of, but I'm going to share with you what Cru is, um, kind of our values, how we run Cru here at SFA, what my role and my job looks like for me specifically, um, and just also some casting vision because we do have a new sport that is coming to SFA's campus starting this fall, and I will share that, so keep watching. And what else? Give a little bit of history about Cru, and then at the end, I will kind of extend this invitation for you to join my team and the different ways you can do that and what that might look like. But don't think about that right now because we'll get to that at the end. And that's something we'll talk about too whenever, I call you and we have a follow-up. Something I mentioned that we will cover is backup. Something I forgot to mention that we will cover is how the Lord led me to join staff. I think that's kind of a big one. And there's, like I mentioned previously, I will cover Cru's history. Um, if you are familiar with Cru's history, then you can skip all of that. I mean, like if you know more than Cru is known as Campus Crusade for Christ, then you can continue um, to watch the video. What I'm going to do is, if you look in the description box down below, there are timestamps. So there'll be Cru's history, it'll give you the time, and then after that, it'll say something else in another time. You can go ahead and click that button, that time slot right there, and fast forward, and you don't have to listen to me talk about Cru's history. Now, on the other hand, if you are not familiar with Cru's history at all, I really encourage you to listen and watch. It's very informative, and there's just some big things in there that I wouldn't want you to miss. So I'm going to go ahead and hit on two of them just in case you decide to fast forward. Cru is a huge ministry. They're active in the United States and overseas. They have roughly 25 ministries under their umbrella. All of these ministries aren't just on college campuses, which I think is awesome. They are on college campuses, but they're also all over the world, reaching all types of people, all people groups, all walks of life, and I absolutely love that. And the history of Cru, you'll get kind of how Cru really does support the Great Commission, um, and you just get to hear the heartbeat behind Cru. Another thing is Cru has a ministry presence in 191 countries, and so there's just a lot of good information in that, and it's I think it's good and valuable, and I just don't want you to miss out on that. So if you are not familiar with Cru's history, like at all, just keep on enduring, pressing through, and it's really good. Yeah, so without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get this video started. You might be looking and saying, like, this is a lot of time. But I also want you to know that if we were sitting down and having a meeting, this would probably be how long our meeting would be. Maybe a little bit longer because we could dialogue and, converse. So yeah, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I'm going to be popping on and off the screen every now and then, but let me share my screen with you first. Okay, so like I said, right here, what I've got is this thing. It's called a conversation guide. And essentially what it does is it guides conversation. So something I want you to think about, and I would ask you this question face to face, but I kind of have two questions I want you to think about. Maybe pause the video and write your thoughts down, or really just think about the question. Because when I do follow up, I love to kind of talk and hear about that because I just think it's interesting and like hearing about it. So first question, when you think about the college campus today, what are some spiritual needs that come to mind? Um, my second question for you is maybe you have children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, cousins, whatever you name it. When you think about them going to college one day, um, what are some of your spiritual, well, not even spiritual, but what are some of your concerns in general? Um, so yeah, I would pause and think about those questions. And yeah, so anyways, I think I love those questions because I heard this statistic at Cru Orientation, and they said in America, the number one unreached people groups um, are college students, which that blows my mind. But it also doesn't at the same time because, we have people in other countries like, I don't know, Africa, and they're reaching unreached people groups. And those people need to hear the gospel. But I think a lot of times, like, we forget that here in America, like, even though we have everything at the click of a button and we have all of these resources, we still have so many people that haven't heard the gospel and who don't know who Jesus is. And so um, that stat blows my mind, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. And so, yeah, let's get started. So competition, I think the word competition really, captures what we're talking about here because in our lives, in students and in athletes' lives, there is a tremendous competition for the hearts and minds of students. Like there's always something competing for our time. There's always something competing for our heart. There's always something competing for our minds. And so, as a former college athlete, I personally struggled with balancing school, morning weights, practices, homework, relationships, having a social life. And so I had a huge tendency to put God in this box and on the back burner of my life. And besides having an actual opponent to compete against, there are so many other things competing for the hearts and minds of students here at SFA. But I've been able to look back, and I am so grateful for the past experiences, trials, and victories that the Lord has seen me through, and now how I can relate and walk alongside other students. So this picture right here is a picture of, this is AT and Camille, and they are sprinters on the track team. And they got to live with me and my roommates during this Christmas break because they were in Nacogdoches for practices and preseason. And so since they lived on campus, their dorms weren't available for them. So my roommates and I got the joy of taking them in and really doing life on life with them. And something I love about just life on life is you look in scripture and you look at the Bible and you see how Jesus did ministry and how he lived. And you kind of look at his relationship between him and his disciples, and they walked everywhere. They broke bread together and they slept in the same place. They did life on life together. And it's kind of in the midst of all of this that discipleship occurs, that teaching occurs, that learning occurs. And so that's why I love being able to do life on life. And so it's students like AT and Camille whom I get to walk alongside with in a discipleship relationship. Not only have they invited me into their life, but I've been able to invite them into my life and helping them learn how to invite God into all aspects of their lives and how to have a personal and intimate relationship with God outside of church walls and outside of Bible study, and that they too can invite God into their practices, their games, their schoolwork, friendships, relationships, family dynamics, the everyday mundane task of life. The Lord wants to be a part of that, and them learning how to invite him into that space. And so, but God is at work. But in the face of all of these competitive forces, God is still bringing an increasing number of people into a relationship with himself throughout the world. And so I will briefly share with you how God led me to join staff with Cru, specifically with Athletes in Action and the Impact Movement. So what you see right here is a picture of me at the Athletes in Action Winter Retreat in Dallas as a sophomore. And it was here that the Lord lit this fire within me for joining staff. So, like I said, what you see right here is this right here is Nicole. She is still on staff. And then you see me as a sophomore in college who is struggling. I had just changed my major for like the second or third time. I decided to step away from partying and alcohol, and with that, lost a lot of friends along the way, hence a lot of loneliness, and even questioning why I was here on this earth. I questioned things like, what am I called to do? What's my purpose? Should I be playing volleyball? Should I be at SFA? And like I said, I even questioned like why I was here on this earth. And for me, I was also in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in. And then the icing on the cake was that I wasn't really walking with the Lord. I didn't have a church home. I didn't have a church family or gospel centered relationships, really. And so it was summer going into my sophomore year that I had hit a personal rock bottom and was in this place of completely surrendering my life to the Lord. Because I literally was like, I'm not going to survive. I'm not going to make it. Um, and like I said, I didn't have a church home or church family, or gospel centered friendship. So this made walking with Jesus really hard. And it was in this season of life that I really learned that we aren't meant to do this life alone. We're meant to do it in community, and iron sharpens iron, and having believers pour into us, um, and to hold us accountable and all of these things. And I just learned that we aren't meant to do it alone. And the Lord's been faithful because I see and know and love the beauty of community. And I think that's one of the things I love with Athletes in Action and the Impact Movement is it creates a sense of community for these students to step into. Okay, here's some believers who kind of get this walk, who get the walk as a college athlete, who get this walk of being a Black college student, and so yeah, I love being able to invite students into that. And anyways, going on, I was invited by Nicole, who's in this picture, to go to winter retreat. And I was the only athlete from SFA to go to winter retreat. And so if you know me, that is so out of my comfort zone. But it was on the second day of the retreat that I sat there and I listened to the guest speaker talk about our call as believers. And that call is to go and make disciples of all nations. The Great Commission, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, teaching them everything I have commanded. And behold, I am with you always. And so as believers, that is our call, to go. And I think the difficult part, or what we make difficult, is okay, what does go look like in the context of my life? And I think that's different for everybody. And so, anyways, as the speaker continued to talk on stage, he stressed just about how there's so much pressure put on college students in general to have it all figured out, to show up as freshmen and to know your life plan once you graduated. And I related to that so much mentally, because I had no idea what I was doing with my life. I just changed my major, and I was lost, I was confused, I was struggling. And let's be honest, I was in a really dark place, but it was there that the Lord met me, and it was there that the Lord, spoke through the speaker, and he made us do this thing. And I'm going to encourage you to do it. Is he said, like, look down at your feet, So we're like looking at our feet. And he said, I want you to realize you are exactly where the Lord has you. Like you're exactly where he wants you to be. And we alone can't mess that up. We're exactly where the Lord has us and wants to be. And I think for me, those words brought so much comfort and so much freedom. And still to this day, those are words that I'm clinging to, that I have to remind myself so much. And so it was, oops, my bad. So, yeah, he continued to speak and he started speaking about sports ministry. And that ministry was so foreign to me. I didn't even know what ministry was or what it meant. But in my life, that is probably one of the biggest light bulbs to go off for me. And I just remember thinking, like, this is it. This is what the Lord is leading to me. And I know this is something he has planned for me. And I know I'm not really walking with the Lord, but I just really believe this is going to play out in my life in some shape, form, or fashion. Um, and yeah, I didn't know what that would look like, but God is at work, but God is faithful because my flash forward, my senior year of college, and my last season of volleyball, I remember the Lord was telling me, like, Lexus, like, love your teammates well. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. Like, love God, love people. My heart's on fire. But it was also my senior year that I was introduced to the Impact Movement, which is a multicultural ministry on campus. It's geared towards Black college students. So just my senior year, in the midst of attending Impact Movement as a student every Thursday, and as a senior volleyball player and teammate and captain who just all she wanted to do was to love her teammates well, this year brought about doing ministry for the first time ever. And man, did God move and do wondrous things, big and small. And by the end of my senior year, the Lord not only grew my heart for my teammates, he grew them for all athletes and students of color. So my senior year, I decided to take that leap of faith and join staff. And so this past year, 1 year out of college, I have had the honor of serving with Athletes in Action in the Impact Movement in a part-time capacity. And now I am transitioning from part-time to full-time. So our campus ministry, Cru, is a community where the gospel captures hearts, it transforms lives, and launches men and women into a lifelong adventure with Jesus Christ. And, we are committed to reaching the 150 million college students of the world, each student, every campus. And so with Cru, we actually have 3 core values we're, committed to: win, build, and send. So winning students for Christ, building and equipping students, and then sending students to live life on mission. So essentially, these 3 core values allow for the Great Commission to take place. So we're going to cover these. So win, introducing students to Jesus. And this right here is a picture of a girl named Rayvon. I'm going to try to share this story, and I'm going to give you like the preview short snippet of it because I could spend like 30 minutes sharing the story. But essentially, this is a picture of a girl named Rayvon. She just finished her freshman year, and I met Rayvon 3 times. I met her at orientation. I met her Saturday before school started, so that's move-in day. And then I saw her on campus Wednesday of the first week of school. Every time I met Rayvon, though, or ran into her, she would ask me, so how's all the church stuff? And I'd be like, wow, it's a great, girl. And she would always respond and say, yeah, I'm just such a sinner. And I remember that Wednesday, the third encounter with Rayvon, I'm sitting in Starbucks and I'm in the middle of a discipleship group. And, I see Rayvon, I'm like, seen her twice, friend basis, flag her down, Rayvon, oh my gosh. And we're talking, and she says I'm just such a sinner. And by the third time, I remember thinking, like, I literally asked the Lord at that moment in my head, like, God, I don't think this girl has ever heard the gospel. I don't know if she knows who you are. I don't know if she knows what Jesus did. I don't know if she knows your love for her. And at this point, when I originally met Rayvon, I was like, oh, I just want to be her friend because she's fun, hip, so cool, outgoing and bubbly, and just, I was like, I just want to be your friend. And after this third time of meeting with her and finally getting the nerve to ask for her phone number, that day I said, hey, do you want to go to dinner? And she said, yeah, of course, like, let's go. So I got her phone number, woo woo, which was out of my comfort zone. But by this point, I like had this agenda. I was like, okay, I'm sharing my testimony and I'm sharing the gospel with this girl. Like, I don't even care. And just throughout the whole day leading up to our dinner, I remember asking the Lord, like, God, I just want her to encounter you. Like, I don't even care how that looks or how that plays out. I just want this girl to meet you. I want her to know you. I just want her to encounter you, whether that's for the first time or for the 10,000th time. Lord, just please make yourself known to her. And so there was also this big campus event going on that Wednesday night. They're the church in Nacogdoches, and they were doing this event where it was their church tends to draw in a lot of college students. Um, but essentially, we were going to go in, and it was praise and worship, and the pastor is going to speak, and all that good stuff. And I remember like telling the Lord, I was like, like it would be really cool if we could go to dinner, and then we could go to this, on-campus event. That would be really cool. And I remember telling the Lord, but I'm not going to ask her because I don't want to have it. Like, I know we're going to have a spiritual conversation and I don't know how that's going to go. And the last thing I want to do is push church on her. And I think that's a fear, that some of you guys may relate to, is you don't want to scare somebody away. And so anyways, we go to dinner that night and it's really great. And I share my testimony and I mentioned like, part of that is me hitting rock bottom. And something she said was, I guess I'm just gonna have to hit rock bottom. And I'm like, no, that's what I'm trying to tell you is um, I don't want you to hit rock bottom. I don't think you have to hit rock bottom, to come to this place of like, now I need you, Jesus. And so we kept talking and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm sharing the gospel, like simple gospel. That's it. And, after she said, okay, well, is it okay if I'm just not ready for that? Because then I have to stop, having sex, getting drunk, doing drugs and partying. And I think that was kind of cool, was that there was this realization of that there were going to have to be some things surrendered because, sex out of marriage, drunkenness, partying, doing drugs, I don't think, those aren't glorifying to the Lord and those aren't his best for her life. And we all have our own X, Y, and Z that the Lord asks for us to surrender. And so I thought it was cool that there was this realization that, oh, I'm going to have to surrender some things. And, we got to conversate and, I got to share like, Rayvon, it's wonderful because it's your choice. Like, it's your choice to say yes to Jesus, and it's also your choice to say no to following Jesus. But what I can promise you is complete satisfaction in him, that in him he provides joy in the midst of pain and sorrow and the good and the bad. There's joy. He provides a peace that surpasses all understanding. When we are weak, he is strong. Um, he is a provider. He is complete security. And in him, he is everything. In him, is complete satisfaction when, all of these, X, Y, and Z's in our life, we just want them to satisfy us, and they might satisfy us for the moment, but ultimately they come back void and empty, and we're just reminded how empty we are when we turn to Jesus, and in him is complete satisfaction. Like, anything we put into his hands, we know it's in good condition, it's in good care, because he's a good father and he cares for us and he loves us and he sees us and he wants us to know him, but he knows us more than anybody in this entire world. And so, just we got to dialogue through that. And she talked about how she, tried to read the Bible one time. And this was something I could relate to her, because I asked her, I said, well, do you remember? And she was like, yeah, I read the first chapter of the first book. So Genesis chapter 1. And she was just like, I was confused. I didn't really see how it could apply to me. And I related to that on such a personal level, because, like I said, in this rock bottom, surrender my life to the Lord. And I'm like, okay, like I know I should go to church. I should read my Bible, study scripture, pray. I knew all these things and I had no idea how to live it, what that looked like, where to start in the Bible. So I too tried to start in Genesis and I wasn't successful at all. And thank the Lord, someone graciously came alongside and said, here's a better place to start, like one of the Gospels. And so, yeah, anyways, me and Rayvon, we go to dinner, and that's kind of our conversation. And before dinner ended, I asked her, I said, well, Rayvon, like, would you consider yourself to be a Christian? And she said, no, I have no reason to. And so after dinner, we both didn't have any plans. So we were like, let's hang out. And so we're like walking around campus and we're checking out this new STEM building on campus. And while we're walking, we run into one of my really good friends, Rebecca. And I'm like, yes, praise the Lord, someone else we know. And you might not know Rebecca, but she graduated from SFA in December. And for like a year or two, she was the Impact Movement president. And so it was just nice because they got to meet each other. And, Rebecca asked us, are y'all going to that Wednesday night on campus event? And I'm like, no, even though I like really want to go, I didn't want to ask Rayvon. And Rayvon was like, no, but let's go. And so I'm like, okay, like, let's go. And in my head, I'm like, you don't even know what you just said yes to, but let's go. So we get to the auditorium and they have all this hype music playing and there's college students everywhere. And that was nice because I ran into so many of my friends and college students who I hadn't seen all summer, and they got to meet Rayvon. And something that I was doing was, anyone who literally met Rayvon, whether they were at the event or not, I was like blowing their phones up. I was like, yo, my friend Rayvon is here. She's a non-believer. Like, pray that she would encounter the Lord. Like, pray for salvation, just like all this stuff. And so we're like outside and it's just really like hype and fun, and everything's being hyped up. And Rayvon finally asked the question, what is this? And I'm like, I don't want to say anything. I'm not answering that question. And so Rebecca stepped in and she said, well, this is a church in Nacogdoches, and they have these events and we'll go inside and we'll sing praise and worship, and then someone like the college pastor, he'll preach a message, and then at the end we'll sing some more, and then that's it. And, when Rebecca said the word church, Rayvon's eyes like grew humongous. And I was like, ooh, I was afraid of that. Because like this happened at orientation when she ran and showed up at our church table booth thing. And so, after they talked or whatever, I told Rayvon, I said, I want you to know that if you feel uncomfortable, like, we don't have to go. If you don't want to go, we don't have to go. If we get in there and you aren't feeling it and you're like, no, I'm ready to leave, I want you to know that that is okay. Like, that is not a problem. And I want you to know that, like, you can voice that. And she was like, no, like, this looks cool. Like, let's go. And so I'm like, okay. So anyways, we go inside and we met up with some other Impact Movement students, and we sit down. And so it's like me, some Impact students, Rayvon and Rebecca. And y'all, the coolest, most amazing thing, because this is how intentional and awesome God is, was throughout all of the songs and throughout the entire message, it was the gospel. It was literally just the gospel. And like in praise and worship, I'm like tearing up because I'm in awe of the gospel and how relevant it is and how relevant the gospel will always be. And then I'm in awe of just God and Jesus and who he is and just his love for me. And then I'm in awe of just the whole day. Because I look down, and Rayvon's like falling, and so I'm like, cue my tears. And it's like in that moment that I'm just like, wow, like, thank you, Lord. Like, you are so intentional. Like, we sing those songs that's like, oh, the never ending, reckless love of God. Oh, he chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. Yeah, like the Lord leaves the 99 for the one. And I feel like that's something like the Lord just allowed me to just get a glimpse of just him pursuing Rayvon all throughout the day and the weeks leading up, and just the way he was so intentional with Rayvon and just how much he loves her, that I just got a glimpse of it. And he just really allowed me, not even me, like my friends, my brothers and sisters in Christ, and my ministry partners to all just come in and partner with him and sit really at this intersection of heaven and earth. And it was just this moment of like, wow, Lord, like, thank you. Like, just your love for us just blows my mind. And the way just this one person right here that I know that you are intentionally and have been intentionally pursuing blows my mind. And so the event ends and we walk out, and Rayvon's like, I don't think you understand what just happened to me in there. And so we're like, let's process, like, let's talk about it. And we did just that. And that was nice because it gave Rayvon this space to process. It gave her this space to ask questions. It gave her the space to voice misconceptions that she had, and allowed us as this group and body of believers to speak truth into that. And yeah, it was crazy because that night after all of that, she was like, that pastor was like this at me, like God was just talking like directly to me. And then she made this statement of, I just realized how much I've been living in the dark. um So flash forward a week later, and I get a text. That church is starting their weekly Bible studies, and I get a text from one of my old teammates and friends, and she says, "Hey, Lexus, you know your friend Rayvon?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she's like, "Well, she came to Bible study tonight." And for me, I'm like kudos, like shout out to you, because that's bold. Like me as a freshman, not knowing anybody, like I mean, I knew people, but to just show up to a Bible study by yourself, not knowing anyone, like that's really bold. And so super proud of just that boldness. And anyways, my friend took her home. She ended up taking her home that night, and they were talking, and Rayvon was just talking about how she didn't have a Bible. And then my friend texted me and she goes, yeah, she gave her life to the Lord. And I was like, oh my gosh, like laying in bed, like about to go to sleep, hop out of bed, like running all over the house, like busting into my roommate's bedrooms, like Rayvon gave her life to the Lord, and just crying and just like thanking the Lord and praising the Lord, and realizing like, okay, not everyone is like that. You do not, it's not always the case that you meet a non-believer and then a week later they're, they've given their life to the Lord. But it was in that I learned that we cannot put God in this box. And so the next day, me and Rayvon were hanging out, and this is this picture actually, where we went and we let Rayvon go pick out her first Bible and get the version she wanted, and all of the excitement that comes with getting a new Bible and getting to write in it and read in it, and then she got to personalize it. And so this is also Rayvon at the Impact Fall Retreat. And so that's what when looks like. When looks like introducing people to Jesus, having conversations about Jesus. That, like I said, it's done in conversations, outreaches, in digital and social media. Our second core value is build, which is creating life-changing communities. And so I share this story of Rayvon to show you the win, build, and send. And for build, that looks like, I already said it, life-changing communities. And it's in the build that we get to help students grow in their walk with the Lord. We get to help them learn how to share their testimony and how to share the gospel with others, and we get to challenge them in that. And build, that occurs through conferences and small groups, mentoring relationships, discipleship relationships. Uh, and for me, like Rayvon is someone that I get to have this discipleship or mentor relationship with. And she's also someone who faithfully attends the Impact Movement every Thursday. And so something, something I forgot to hit on is, just her hunger and thirst for the word um, is just, it blows my mind. It's crazy. And which leads to sin, which is living life on a mission. I think something that was cool was, after she got her Bible, Rayvon was like, I have to tell my sister about Jesus. Like, I have to. And I think it was cool that it was just like, just already in her heart as a believer was this heart and desire to go and make disciples, this heart of the Great Commission, um, and what is that in the context of your life? Well, it's everything between your 2 feet. That's your go. And so I just absolutely love that is send, like living life on mission. As Cru staff, we are committed to sending students to live life on mission through short-term and long-term mission trips, church leadership, ministry in the workplace, full-time Christian work. And at Cru, our motto is 100% send, that students would walk with God for a lifetime, making God known for a lifetime. So that no matter if a student graduates, transfers from SFA, whatever job they get, coach, teacher, doctor, lawyer, whatever you name it, that they would be equipped and that they would be confident in sharing their faith and sharing Jesus and sharing the gospel wherever they're at. Again, that they would be equipped and confident, walking with God for a lifetime, making God known for a lifetime. And I just absolutely love that. And so, yes, now I will share with you my specific role. So, as for me, I will be working on campus at SFA, and I work specifically with Athletes in Action, which is a ministry geared towards college athletes. Um, so, helping college athletes integrate faith and sport. And then I also work with the Impact Movement, which is an ethnic ministry geared towards Black college students. So this past year, I served with both of these ministries part-time, and now I'm currently transitioning to a full-time capacity, meaning that my role expands not only by a number of hours I'm working, but now I'm able to really and truly devote my time and energy to these students and to these athletes, whether that is, meeting weekly for a discipleship meeting or sitting in at practices or traveling with them or being a team chaplain, leading Bible studies, equipping other students to lead their Bible studies. And so some of these things I did before, but was limited to a part-time capacity. So for me, this looks like getting, for me, this looks like being able to get more on their turf. And like I said, part-time, I discipled students, led some Bible studies, went to staff meetings because I have to, went to the monthly dinner things, went to some practices. But this, role allows me to get on their turf. So practices, traveling, team chaplain stuff, getting in their space. There's something about getting in their space. Like sometimes I'll go to basketball practice, and I would go to basketball practice and I'd see the students, I'd see them on campus that day too. And later that evening, I'd have, a girl text me and it's like, hey, I'm really going through it. Can we sit down, meet up, and talk about this? And then I get to sit down and meet with this girl, and we get to look at scripture, and we get to process and talk about what she's going through. And then I get to point her to the Lord. And then we get to continue to do it over and over and over again. And I get to just walk alongside with this, girl or student, whatever athlete in life. So there's just something about getting in their space and them seeing you. And something that's really cool is, like I said, my two focuses are with Athletes in Action and the Impact Movement. And if you know, like I played volleyball at SFA, so volleyball in general just has a sweet spot in my heart. And this fall, SFA is getting a beach program, which I am so excited about because one, it's beach volleyball, so that's exciting. Two, from a ministry standpoint, we now have a new team, a new program, new coaches, new players who are now considered unreached. So, you know, I and my team of ministry partners, like we get to go at an unreached people group, which I've never done before. And it's so exciting and it's so comforting to know like I'm not doing it alone at all, but I'm just super excited. That's like one of the exciting news things I had was we get to reach an unreached people group. And it just happens to be beach volleyball, and I'm just super excited about that. So uh, before I go on, if you have any questions about Cru, how we do it, about my role specifically, I encourage you to write those down. So when we have our follow-up call, if you have any questions, you can ask those, and then hopefully I can have an answer for you. But now I'm going to go on and share with you about Cru's history. So this is a picture right here of the couple who started Cru on the UCLA campus in 1951. This is Bill and Vanette Bright. What started as a ministry to the students of UCLA, it now touches the lives of people in every segment of society, in every corner of the world. So what you see right here, these are a few of Cru's ministries. These are not all of them. Cru actually has 25 ministries under their umbrella. And the amazing thing about all of these ministries is that Cru is not just taking the gospel to college campuses, but to the corners of the world. And Cru currently has a ministry presence in 191 countries. 191, that's crazy, that's a lot. Cru, their ministries are daily taking the gospel to places where it's illegal, to places where people are unreached, to places where it might be unsafe. And the gospel is spreading like wildfire. And the thing I love is that these 25 ministries under Cru's umbrella, they're geared towards all people groups from all walks of life, at all ages, because Cru really does believe in the Great Commission. I've said it like 2 or 3 times, like, go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, teaching them everything I've commanded, and behold, I'm with you always. And so, for me, it's just such a joy, and an honor to be a part of something so much greater than myself. You know, that we get to be a part of something that's of eternal value and that is building and advancing the kingdom. And, I'm like, who wouldn't want to take part in this? Because, we get to get behind this Great Commission because one day, with Cru, because Cru believes, and I believe with my whole heart, that one day every knee will bow, every tribe and tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And I just think that how awesome that we get to take part in that the Lord extends that invitation for us to take part in that. And so this past year, I already said, I worked with AIA right here in the Impact Movement. You might be familiar with Greekwide, maybe not, but that is another ministry we have on campus. And we do have staff at SFA who specifically work with reaching fraternities and sororities with Greekwide. So perhaps you might be familiar with some of these ministries, like the Jesus Film Project, Destino, Gain. Yeah, so super cool. And so our past, present, and future. Cru is the name of Campus Crusade for Christ in the United States. We are a caring community passionate about connecting people to Jesus Christ. And our objective is for every person in the world to have an opportunity to hear the gospel. Which leads us to, we love to invite others to partner with us to reach people for Christ. So Cru actually has no central funds for paying salaries. So, oops. Sorry. Cru has no central funds for paying salaries and ministry expenses. So like many other mission organizations, Cru depends upon the consistent financial support of concerned individuals and churches. And then all of these contributions are used to fund the ministries of our staff members. So right here actually is a picture of our staff team this past year. And so by August 1st, 2019, I must find a team of partners who will give $100 a month or some other amount to support my ministry. As soon as this team is complete, then I am able to turn my full attention to reaching people for Christ. And so, like I said, I must find my team by August 1st. I'm asking the Lord for mid-July. I'm just trusting that the Lord's going to do that. And, with all that being said, I do have commitments to my ministry partners. So, one is to work diligently, like I said, work diligently to touch the lives of people for Jesus Christ. Two, to regularly let you know how God is blessing the ministry. So, something I do is you will receive a monthly newsletter. In that newsletter, you'll get some prayer points, and then I have a blog just for my ministry partners. So, but in my YouTube video, I will kind of go more in depth about the little bullet points I mentioned before. I'll share like the highs, a video, and then prayer points. So yeah, that just allows me to share with you how God is blessing the ministry. Number 3, a big one, is to be financially faithful with the funds given for my ministry. And then the 4th one is to share prayer concerns with one another, because it is a relationship. And I feel like a lot of times I'm like, here's all my prayer concerns. But I want to be able to pray for you. I want to be able to know how I can intercede with you or for you. And so I have a ministry partner development coach who has completely shined a new light on just ministry partner development and having building relationship with that. And so my new commitment is for people who join my team, you get a popsicle stick. And my coach and her husband do this, but every night at dinner, they have a jar of popsicle sticks like this, and every night they draw from the jar. And on each popsicle stick is a ministry partner's name and then a ministry partner's phone number. So whoever's name is drawn out the jar that day, I can't talk. Whoever's name is drawn out the jar, they will pray for that ministry partner. And then after send an encouraging text. And I absolutely love that. It just makes me excited that ministry partners, you get a popsicle stick, and knowing that one day I get to intentionally intercede and pray for you and just encourage you. Absolutely love it. And so, I'm asking the Lord to provide abundantly for my needs and also to enable me to help with the needs of other new laborers. So, like I said, I'm in this journey of ministry partner development, and here are some more staff members, and we're all on this journey, and everyone has different circumstances. There's people who go into ministry partner development and they have 300 people, contacts that they can reach out to. And then I also know someone specifically who they went into ministry partner development and they're like, I know 15 people. That's my contact list. And so I just say that because everyone's circumstance is different, and ministry partner development in general is just difficult. It's a sweet, difficult spot to be in. It's sweet, that we get to go and the Lord's like, okay, just be a faithful servant, share your heart, cast vision, and trust me with the rest. Trust me to provide. But like I said, I'm asking the Lord to provide abundantly for my needs. Like I said, my goal is to be 100%, to reach my goal of 100% by August 1st. That's the deadline. I'm asking the Lord for July, because I believe He can do that. And there's just a burden and a really deep desire to reach 100% by July so I can spend that month surpassing 100%, because then in turn, I'm able, like this says, I'm enabled to help with the needs of other laborers so they can get on the campus ASAP and share the gospel with students ASAP. So I just really believe the Lord can do that. And I'm kind of expecting the Lord to do that, to help me reach the goal of 100% by July so I can surpass that and, advocate for somebody else. Which, I'm sorry, I keep popping up and back and forth. Which leads to the commitment. So I totally 100% believe that your partnership can make a difference in reaching people for Christ. Would you make a monthly commitment of $100 a month or some other amount? Which now you might be like, $100? That's a lot. There was an awkward silence. One, I realized $100 is a lot. Not everyone can do $100. That's why we have, or some other amount. I do have people on my team that give $10 a month, 20, 25, 50, 100, whatever, you name it, whatever works for you. But like I said, that this whole kind of like becoming a ministry partner thing, that is something we'll talk about more on the phone, when I give you a call. So yeah, I think something I like about the video part of this is that it gives you the time to step back and to look at your finances, or to say yes to partnering in the Great Commission and reaching students for Christ. And it also gives you a big opportunity to go in prayer and ask, the Lord, like, is this something I should do? Um, so yeah, we'll talk more about the whole commitment thing because it's just weird because it's on a PowerPoint and it's kind of weird. But there are other ways to partner with me in ministry. So one being prayer, and the second one being referrals. So who else might join us? Um, oh my gosh, you're probably annoyed at me doing this. So like I said, I believe that the Lord's going to provide 100%, even more than 100%. However, I don't think I know all of those people. I believe that my ministry partner team is out there somewhere, but I believe I don't know everyone. And so that's what my question is for you, is who else might join us? So I ask you, put yourself in my shoes. Who do you know, maybe 5 to 10 people, who do you know that would be simply encouraged or excited to hear about the Lord's ministry through me? So typically what I would do is we would sit down together and we kind of jog your memory. But here I've got some bullet points that help with that. So who are some friends at church? Who are some neighbors? Who are some family members, coworkers, small groups, people, when I say small groups, people who are in your Bible study, or who are some college friends or coaches, just get your brain thinking. Who are people that would simply be encouraged or excited to hear about it? Not, oh, I know he can give money. I know she can't give, so I'm not going to ask. No, who would be encouraged and excited to hear about it? And that's the thing I like being able to propose this on this video, because it gives you time to think about it. So when I follow up with you, you might be able to have a list. And something that works best for most people is going through their phone, their contact list. That's really helpful too. And if you do have people in mind and you're kind of nervous, just sending their phone numbers to me, what you can do is write their names down, let me know who they are. And I actually have an email and text message template for you to like specifically send to them if that makes it more comfortable for you. So yeah, that basically concludes everything. But I just want to say thank you so much for again taking your time to meet or to watch or listen to this video. I hope it's been nothing but encouraging to you. And yeah, I'm excited to follow up with you. And I'm praying that you get a popsicle stick. And yeah, we'll talk in like 2 to 3 days. I'll give you a call. And you have a great day. Bye.